We'll start questions with Paul to coach's left.
Coach, I asked the players the same question, but I think you guys are up 9 with about 6.5 minutes to go. What kind of changed down the stretch with your team, especially on the offensive end?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember it well, subbing at the free throw. And we didn't get a great look, and then the other end we fouled the three-point shooter, and he made the free throw. And then the next possession we took not a very good shot, and they got our get back behind the play from offense to defense and left someone wide open, and he made that three too. So we gave up 7 points in 2 possessions, and I think I called timeout if I'm not mistaken at that point. And then as the game unfolded, we obviously had time to reset a little bit, and I think we got it up to 6, maybe once, twice, not any further than that. And at the end, they seemed like they just made the key plays. They made key plays, key baskets, and we didn't.
Sean's getting a lot of these open looks in the corner, and last few games just hasn't been hitting them. Are those shots you want to see him continue taking when they're open like that?
Again, I'd have to watch the film, but he hasn't been shooting as well, like you mentioned, the last 3 or 4 games than he was, and he's open for a reason. I mean, they're not guarding him out there more often than not. They might late contest, but they're not circling him on the scouting report. And he's either got to step up and make them or not shoot them. That's just the choice that he and we have to make going forward.
Go ahead, Danny P., and then we'll keep it going with Jacob.
Second straight overtime, Coach. What did you see different in this overtime as opposed to Monday night?
They won. That's what I saw. It was like the way the overtime started, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Where the tip and fumble and they get the ball and trick off the layup. I couldn't believe it when that happened. I never dreamt that they wouldn't make that basket. And we were playing from behind, felt like, from the opening tip of the overtime, we just never got solid. And, Josh had 4 fouls there down the stretch of the game and then in the overtime. So we were trying to hit and miss with him a little bit to get him on defense, try to sub him for offense as much as we could. And our rhythm wasn't very good in overtime. Theirs was better, and they got some separation on us and closed it out.
Jaden Macer's return this game gives you 21 points. I guess obviously it's a lot, but how can you explain the difference in this team when Jaden's out there opposed to when he's not?
I mean, the obvious is he gives us a scoring punch that is very much needed. I was excited that he had got cleared to play, and he makes a big difference for us. He spreads the court for us, gives us another option, and he's been all in about what we're trying to do and how he needs to play for us, and hopefully his confidence is through the roof. I know he hates losing as much as the next guy, but he definitely is a welcomed addition to having him available.
We'll go second row to Colin, then we'll come back to Paul.
It seemed like they did a pretty good job of taking things away from Josh, and it seemed like he struggled to find a rhythm, but even then he gives you 16 points. So how does that affect, drawing up plays later in the game where, situations where maybe you want him to get that shot, but that they're going to be conscious of that as well?
Yeah, I mean, Josh is going to have to continue to get used to, that big dark red circle that's around him on every scouting report. Certainly he's already had that kind of attention, but this year it's different. He's not on the court with maybe quite as many other scoring options at times. So, they're going to do what they got to do to limit his looks and be very physical with him, try to get 2 on the ball, and shut out his vision and make him give it up, and try to put him in as many awkward situations as they can. And it's been with, mixed results. He had 16 points, like you said, but, 19 shots isn't very efficient that way. And, he's got to understand that some nights, he's going to have to facilitate more. He's going to have to understand that he's drawing so much attention, and it makes it easier for everybody else. But when I say that, when it's everybody else and they're open, they got to knock those down too. Otherwise, it's a tough situation for all of us. But he'll continue to get better. He'll continue to figure out different defenses and how he needs to react to them.
Coach, you basically started 3 guards tonight with Jaden and Hove and McGee. Was that more of a matchup with SMU type of thing, or is that just something you wanted to try to go with 3 guards?
We play 3 guards. I wouldn't say often, but some. And if you look back in our lineups, we'll play a 3-guard lineup. If you count King Grace in there as a guard as well, we'll play that 3-guard lineup. Sean Jones hasn't practiced since the last game. He hadn't practiced at all. He had a calf strain that came to light after the game, and Sean never sits out of practice or games. Very rarely has he missed a practice in 4 years, so it was pretty serious that way for him. And to be honest with you, until game time, I didn't even know if he was going to be available. Unfortunately, he was, but that's one of the reasons why we started that lineup tonight.
Jacob, go ahead. We got time for a few more.
Coach, I know you're only 7 games into the season, but you face a lot of adversity. How do you feel like the guys have, respond to adversity? I know you need a couple of days to say they respond to this, but as a whole, how do you feel like they respond to that?
Well, we got some time now. We don't play till Wednesday. It's our first loss that we've had at home. I know we haven't been having stellar performances at home, but we've found a way to win, which is obviously the main goal. And this one, not taking any credit away from SMU, but it got away from us. And I'm, as best of my ability, I'm telling my guys the truth every single day, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. And that's what I told them after the game. We did this to ourselves. We had this game in the balance. We played well enough to win. We had some great stretches, and the game changed. What I talked about earlier, it changed then, and then down the stretch, we just didn't come up with enough balls in the air, balls on the ground, hit first, floor first, and when you're playing at this level and playing against other teams that are trying to win as much as you are, you got to figure out a way to make the plays. And we got awesome kids on our team. I love being around them. I love coaching them. But we got to continue to work on our playing personality, being a little more edgier, a little more whatever I got to do to get it done. It may not look pretty. I got to be a little more grimy. And that doesn't mean they're not that way off the court. Because, again, but we got too many guys that haven't totally jumped in to the playing personality part that our team, has to play with for us to be successful. And in the end, I'm responsible for it. How we practice, what we do, how I teach and coach them. I've got to figure out how I can get them to believe in it, and then for our team to play like that. Because if we had that tonight, the narrative would be a lot different.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you Monday.